Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for this opportunity to make my maiden speech as the newly elected Member of Parliament for Wyre Forest. And thank you to the Honourable Member for Linlithgow Falkirk for his contribution. As I settle down into this House, I'm very much aware of how Honourable Members have just come back from pretty tough election campaigns where they've been getting stuck into the local candidates in order to get re-elected. And yet, back in Wyre Forest, the general election campaign could not have been more gentlemanly, steadfastly adhering to a political version of the Queensberry rules, and that is entirely due to the nature of my predecessor, Dr. Richard Taylor. Richard was famously elected as an independent in 2001, trying to save Kidderminster Hospital from downscaling and from the closure of the Accident and Emergency Department. Now, he may not have achieved everything he and his party set out to do all those years ago, and his political achievements have become a byword for people power. The so-called Kidderminster effect is now used to describe political curiosities, and he is already described in modern political textbooks as how the traditional party system can be broken when constituents feel very strongly enough about a specific issue. But whilst Richard's local achievements may not have been as huge as he hoped for perhaps in 2001, he has proved two things, I feel, for modern politics. That governments ignore the views of the electorate over local issues at their peril, and that people are a lot more politically minded than we imagine when it comes to important local events. Richard, of course, follows in a long line of very interesting politicians in Wyre Forest, including former Conservative Prime Minister Stanley Baldwin and the hugely charismatic Gerald Nabarro. But Wyre Forest also numbers many interesting other sons, amongst whom number the 17th century Puritan preacher Richard Baxter, who set up his ministry in Kidderminster in 1641. Also from Kidderminster is Sir Rowland Hill, the inventor of the modern postal system, and someone whose legacy I feel honourable members are reminded of every day as they collect their post bags from the House of Commons post room. More recently, of course, and of no doubt interest to members growing up in the 60s and 70s, Led Zeppelin frontman Robert Plant is still very much an active member of the local community. Comprising of the three towns of Kidderminster, Stourport and Severn and Bewdley, as well as the outlying rural communities, Wyre Forest is a community that is both historical as well as fascinating. Straddling the River Severn, its early history is based very much on trade on the river. The town of Bewdley used to be an important trading port, part of which is mentioned in the Domesday Book, whilst the main town itself received borough status from Edward IV in 1472. And this, of course, is the town that Stanley Baldwin lived in, from which he chose his title, Earl Baldwin of Bewdley. Downstream from Bewdley lies the Georgian town of Stourport and Severn, created as a port where the River Stour joins the River Severn, but made much more prosperous by the building of the Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal, the canal basins of which, lots, now form a stunning central focus for the town. The biggest town, of course, in Wyre Forest is Kidderminster, again mentioned in the Domesday Book. Kidderminster was granted a borough charter in 1636 by King Charles I, who, of course, was a former and unfortunate visitor to this house. Kidderminster is, of course, known for its carpet industry, which was started by the Brinton family in 1785. This has been the main driver for the local economy until recent times, and indeed there are still a number of very successful carpet manufacturers based in Kidderminster and Stourport. Indeed, so significant to the local economy was, and to a lesser extent still is, the carpet industry, that the local newspaper, the Kidderminster Shuttle, was named in reference to the shuttle that forms an integral part of the looms used in the weaving of carpets. But the modern economy is more diverse, with manufacturing ranging from design and building of the undercarriage for heavy earth-moving equipment to, slightly more surprisingly for landlocked Worcestershire, the manufacturing of luxury ocean-going yachts. And from forging parts from motorcar components to the cutting-edge design and manufacture of rocket motors. Taking advantage of the outstanding local beauty and the fascinating local history is the impressive local tourist industry that includes both the West Midlands Safari Park as well as one of Europe's finest heritage steam railways, the Severn Valley Railway, both representing significant tourist draws for the West Midlands and both providing very important diversions for my three children. Wyre Forest has more recently undertaken a comprehensive review of all the schools in the district, and as a result of which the former three-tier system has been moved to a two-tier system. This has included a major rebuild and investment from Worcestershire County Council. Worcestershire is a Wave 6A Building Schools for the Future authority, and the proposals are to rebuild 4 of our secondary schools, Stourport High School, Wolverley C of E Secondary School, Baxter Business and Enterprise College and King Charles I School, as well as provide a new 2 to 19 special school and refurbished Bewdley School and Sixth Form Centre. The BSF programme has been signed off this year by the Treasury, and whilst I have no reason to believe that the rebuild will not go ahead as planned, I cannot understate the importance that this investment will have in Wyre Forest, where there are some issues surrounding certain pockets of deprivation locally that will benefit immeasurably from this investment. On the wider issue of per-pupil funding, Wyre Forest, as part of the Worcestershire Education Authority, suffers from being near the bottom of the per-pupil funding league table. This means that a school of the same size as Kidderminster's Baxter College would receive over £3 million per year more to do the same job just because it's located down the road in Tower Hamlets. Of course we recognise that there are increased costs associated with being in the centre of London, but are they really that much higher? I hope that the proposed pupil premium for disadvantaged pupils will help redress this imbalance, but I would look to see a move towards fairer funding for the Worcestershire schools with a funding formula. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I was keen to speak in this debate on Europe as I feel that we can learn many positive things from our European partners, including the lessons from Sweden with regards to school provision. But I'm also frequently asked where I stand on the issue of Europe, and the answer I give is that I'm neither a Europhile nor a Europhobe, but a Euro realist. We are where we are on Europe, and whilst as somebody newly elected to Parliament, I deplore the creeping nature of legislation that comes not from this place but from Brussels. I welcome the proposed referendum law proposed by the coalition, and I will always, always stand firm against joining the euro. But when I look at the question of whether we should be in or out of Europe, my very first instinct is to look at how it will affect the people of Wyre Forest. Will my constituency be better off if we came out of Europe? I remain open-minded to be persuaded otherwise, but my instinct is that the future of Wyre Forest economy stands a far better chance if we stay in Europe, taking advantage of the trading opportunities presented and that we've talked about a bit earlier. I very much look forward to serving the good people of Wyre Forest, not just in this place, but locally in the community, where I intend to spend my time working with the business community to attract more opportunity locally, tackling low local wages and rising unemployment. The man of the moment back in 2001, when the hospital was threatened, was always going to be a doctor. But in 2010, when we have rising unemployment, a doubtful economic outlook, I look forward to using my experience of business, investment and economics to work hard for the people of Wyre Forest to tackle the crucial issues that face us all now. Thank you.